Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I've been a busy girl. I finished my flowers. If you remember from yesterday's video, I decided to put in that tiny little piece of sari silk cut into a circle and then fold it in half and in half again to create a little pie shaped, and then at the tip of the bottom, well, the tip of the bottom, that doesn't even make sense, at the tip where it's folded, stitch it down and pop a little bead. So let me just zoom in there, and it just softened everything. Sort of looks like little buds coming out behind the vine of flowers. So that little task is done. I also finished putting the little pink beads through the window boxes, so that's done. And I stitched down all of these little flowers and it really helped. I'm really happy with it now. It sort of looks like it's got a bit of a purpose. The ground cover looks like it actually belongs there. So I'm happier with that. Now, the other big thing I did, because I just couldn't help myself, I started stitching, let me go back up. I stitched down these pieces here, this little guy here, the flower, and that guy there. Then, because I was watching a series and it was just, I don't know, I just went into the zone of stitching. I started doing running stitch through everywhere. Now, I had considered this at some point through this whole series, and I was like, oh, I won't have time for that. That's just put it away. Or a seed stitch, or just something to really blend the fabrics together, because you'll always see a bit of bulky, bubbly area when you're doing this type of embroidery. But if you start running stitch through, it really just melts everything, I guess is the word I'm trying to say. So I started, and it was quite simple. I was just watching a couple episodes of a series and I just started doing running stitch. So I've committed now. I'll be running stitch the entire background of my piece. So I'm about to there, goodness me. And I've come down to the side of this flower here. So it's just finding my line, working my way through. I've done a little bit over this side as well, if you can see it. It's all through there as well. And wherever I've got some highlight pieces, like as in doilies and stitching and things, I just scoot around it, but try and keep my rough line running through. So absolutely pleased with that. It's just more work. I don't know why I do it to myself, but I just felt like it needed it to just pull it all together. So yeah, I've just added probably another 20 hours of work to this piece. Oh, we're gluttons for punishment, aren't we? Now in today's video, I just want to get on to finishing my little flower. So we've got the dark threads in. So yeah, let's get into that. Let me get myself positioned. And where's my needle? Here you are. I think that's the one. Yeah, hello Pepper. So we've done the dark one. I still haven't stitched this little guy down. It's up in the air a little bit. I must have left it up because I want to get this, yeah, that's why I would have done it. I want to get this stitched in underneath it. So what colour are we going to use next? I think that's the colour we started with. I don't mind this guy. Now, I don't know what this wool is. So far, everything's been Appleton. This one, I suspect it's Cascade House, but there's no tag on it, so I really don't know. And this one, I'm going to assume it's Appleton because it sort of feels like it. It's a very big hank of it. I've never seen it in a big hank like this. I've only ever seen it hanging in my local stores like that. So let's get this guy. It's got a very subtle, oh, bit broke off. Has this been snipped? As you probably remember, I picked up some reclaimed textiles from Melanie in Melbourne, purveyor of reclaimed textiles. And part of it, every so often she puts up packs of threads So for a little while I've just been focusing on wools, just to get myself a bit of a collection up. I don't even think that's been, hang on, what's that there? Here we go. There we go. This is very fine. Feels finer than that. I wonder, this might be a very slow process because it feels so thin and fine. So I've slowly been collecting a bit of wool. Okay. All right. Let's give this a go. I'll see if I can get my hand in here to hold it. Yep, happy with that. I might even, let's work in under this little flower, and then at the end of the video I'll be able to stitch it down. It would have found its finish. Now there's still a couple pinks here. I'm going to say there's a darker pink there. I'll use this one as the generic everywhere pink. It's very close to the artwork. Oh, my fingers are cold this morning. Just haven't warmed up. I've lost my heat from the shower. I'll try and get myself all rugged up. Once you get out of the shower, if you can sort of trap that heat, you're right. But I didn't. I think half the problem was yesterday we went out and bought Pepper and Bandit new beds. They've got like a suspended in the air bed that's got that hessian, which is perfect for summer. But as winter comes in, you can imagine it gets a bit cool, and they've got really good coats, so it's sort of probably not really needed, but I feel like they feel cold. So we went out and bought these dog beds. Now they've had them before, but because I've sort of been in puppy mode for a couple of years with Pepper and then Bandit, they've just chewed them to bits, and they're one of the strongest ones you can get out there. I've even coated it in do not chew scent, and that didn't help. So I've gone and bought them again. Anything less is just going to get destroyed, but this is like got a firmer fabric, canvas around it, and inside the wall is foam. And I thought, well, Bandit's a year older, maybe his brain's growing in, but you know what happened? Yes, we actually, so you guys are watching this video, I think it's Saturday, probably, I'm not sure now, but for me, it's Thursday. So last night we went to Moulin Rouge, so the dogs got put to bed a little bit earlier than normal because we were out. So in they went, probably about 4:30, normally it's 6:30. So that extra 2 hours of activity, we'll call it, was enough time for Bandit to chew a hole in a corner of the side of this dog bed. There he is. He's in the bad books. He doesn't seem to realise, but I feel better knowing he's in the bad books. He's chewed the side, and in there is this foam that keeps it upright. Well, he's got in and he's slowly pulled out all of that foam on the one side of the bed and then spat it out all over the place. So when I got up this morning, I've looked out at my babies because they're just outside my bedroom window. I've looked out, and what am I greeted with? Snow. So that hound in under 3 hours of owning the bed, has accessed the side and has started pulling out the wadding. So that just annoyed me as I hopped into the shower. So I've had a quick shower, just wanting to get out there and deal with it because I've got snow everywhere. And I've given them their breakfast and then closed off that section. They're sort of like in a gated area that is smaller than the whole backyard, so that way they're nice and safe through the night. They're close to me and our bedroom, so nice and safe. They tend to get up to bad behaviour through the night if I don't keep them close or contained. So anyway, in there is snow everywhere. So I'm in the shower feeling a little frustrated with the behaviour of a certain hound. So I rushed my shower. So I got out of the shower. I haven't put on enough warm clothes because I just wanted to get outside, feed them, release them, and then get in there and clean it up. And I didn't even put shoes on, like I'm such a country kid. So I'm barefoot out there and it's cold. So I've instantly lost all the warmth that I had gained from the shower. And I'm sitting here feeling cool. I still don't have my slippers on. So it's my own fault. It's my own fault. But I was thrown off my game this morning thanks to you-know-who. So I'm happy with this colour. I can see a transition through. You probably can't notice it, but I can definitely see a transition through the tones there. I'm going to jump across to the next petal. So once you get started and you've chosen your colours, it really is quite, mindless stitching because you're really just colouring in. I hope you're all having a go of it. I see Sarah is doing this style of embroidery too, and that rose is going to be beautiful when she's done. Just beautiful. I love it. I think it's just lovely. I need to track down all these girls that get together for the Roxy stitching down on the Gold Coast. I've got a couple subscribers that I chat to regularly that are down from that way. So I've sent them a message this morning and said, hey ladies, are you part of the Roxy gang? Love to drop down one day and pull up a chair and just stitch with you all. So if anyone can tell me where you meet or who the ringleader is of the gang, it might be the girls that are still travelling, so I might have to wait a little bit until everyone gets home. Now this little petal is a bit tricky because it sits on top of the one below and most of the petal is actually white. So I'm just sort of scooting around this outer edge. I need to end off my needle actually. We're getting a bit small. Let's do that before we get ahead of ourselves. Haven't left much to end off. Oh, even my fingers are getting cold. Goodness sakes. And I shouldn't be complaining. Winter in Queensland, Brisbane, is nothing compared to winter in other areas of the world. Even just my southern states of this great country get bloomin' cold. I should not be complaining. It's probably 12 degrees out there. But for a Queensland girl who's used to, tempered weather, it catches me. It takes me probably a good fortnight to realise that it's no longer summer, which is usually about 10 months of the year. I swear winter is there's probably 3 days sort of really cold and the rest of the time is just cool, but enough to pop a few layers on. So I'll just bring that up to the camera. See how this petal here is going to be sitting over. So if you get rid of the one underneath, it needs to be quite light to make it look like this guy's poked in underneath. So I think that's about all I'm going to stitch there, and I'll leave that to a cream or a white. So now I can scoot to the next petal. Okay. It's all caught underneath. Is that okay? Yep. So last night, which is my Wednesday night, we went to the Moulin Rouge stage production, theatre production that is currently in Brisbane at one of our well, we don't have many theatres, but the main theatre that if somewhere is going to have a production, it's usually at the Lyric Theatre, and it was brilliant. So Marianne and I and our hubbies, we all trundled in there. We had dinner at a restaurant at Southbank. It was so-so. It was okay. I can't get over the price of things these days, but we won't go there. You know, yes, we will. $27 for a burger and chips. Wow. Gosh. I hate to think what the cost of things is going to be in another 20 years. Like, is anyone going to be able to afford to eat, let alone eat out? I don't know. Anyway, sidetracked. So we had some dinner and trundled down through Southbank Parklands to the Lyric Theatre, made our way in and found our seats. We had great seats. They were sort of in the centre of the theatre, so that was really good. I booked it ages ago because these things sell out pretty quick when they come to Brisbane because the theatre is not real big. Often a lot of the stage productions, I got a real shadow there. A lot of the stage productions are cut down in size just to get the people on the stage. I know Marianne was saying that she had heard that Lion King, now Lion King hasn't been here for a while, it was years ago, the production had to be trimmed back quite a lot just to get everyone on stage. Well, a heap of the singers and dancers just couldn't be part of the Brisbane tour because they just can't fit on our Lyric Theatre. It's quite an intimate theatre, still holds a lot, but it's not like the big Sydney and Melbourne theatres. So in we went, and it was fantastic. If you don't know the story, it is a movie, and it's based on a story within the famous Moulin Rouge, which is in Paris. So it's quite interesting that literally a week or so ago, we were standing outside the Moulin Rouge, the cabaret, the original, the Moulin Rouge in Paris. It's got the big windmill with the lights on it. It's very red. It's like a burlesque dance cabaret style, risque sort of establishment. So way back when it all started, the very rich of society men would hang out there and watch the ladies do their dancing, singing, their routines, and I'm going to assume that probably, I don't know for sure, that there was a little shenanigans going on after hours so that these men were being entertained in all sorts of ways. But anyway, coming forward to our century, it's still there. It did have a fire some time back and they've rebuilt it. So if you go to Paris, it's definitely worth a ticket to see the show. And it's really, really good. We saw it years back, but I couldn't get the girls in there this time. You've sort of got to really book ahead of time. Don't leave it till the day you arrive in Paris because you probably won't get in. So anyway, they've made a movie and now a stage production for the movie following that same storyline. And in the movie, if you haven't seen it, it's Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor, two Aussies, and Baz Luhrmann, another Aussie, actually did the direction and the production of the movie, and he's very, very talented. If you love costumes, it is just worth it. Stage costumes, the human costumes, it's brilliant. The music is amazing. They won quite a few awards when it came out. Now, it came out some time ago. We were trying to remember that. I haven't had a chance to Google it, but it was a little while ago. And I remember buying the soundtrack to it at the time, and it was always in my car playing. And of course now it's all on Spotify and that, so it's still in my car playing when those songs from that movie come on. They rev you up. They're those types of songs. They're loud, they're nearly obnoxious. There's so many sounds in there, from trumpets to flutes to drums, and we're not talking normal drums, big drums, little drums. It's like the circus has come to town. So if you haven't seen the movie, go for it. Go and watch it. It's really good. And the stage production pretty much followed the same storyline. It's all about this theatre, and there's a ringmaster, and he's in a bit of debt, and he relies heavily on his girls, the dancers, and the lads who dance as well in it, to entertain the wealthy of Paris back then. So he's like a ringmaster. So I wouldn't say he's a pimp, but he is a pimp. So the lead lady, Satine, she's stunning, absolutely stunning. And the story goes that he's in serious debt, and there's a rich duke, a French nobleman, that is frequenting the place, and he's pretty encapsulated by this Satine. He's this ringmaster's lead lady. So the story goes that he wants her to woo this French duke and get him to invest in the club, because we find out the club's going broke. So he really puts the hard word on Satine to get some money out of this guy, get him to fund the next show, get him to invest. And he is a bit of a creep. He's a very dashing, good-looking man, but he's a creep. Let's be honest. He is a creep. There's rumours circulating that his last mistress, when he found out the mistress had a lover other than him, the lover ended up in the river in Paris, and the mistress was disfigured. So that's sort of the type of character that they're creating with him. Now, at the same time this is all going on, there's a young lad who's turned up in Paris, and he is wanting to get his career as a musical producer, composer of music going. So would you believe the place he's turned up in? I keep pulling this stitch through and it pulls it out because it's coming back through the same hole. So his name is Christian. Now that was Ewan McGregor in the movie. So Christian is rocked up in Paris, and he meets two other creative souls. Forget it. I could say it last night, but I can't say it today. I'm too cold. And another fellow who is a Spanish fellow. And these two roustabouts are very creative, and they're all hanging out around gone blank. Montmartre. Now, remember I was there with the group, and it's the beautiful cathedral up on the hill, and all the locks were on the balustrading, and then around the corner of the big cathedral is a village, and all of the artists for many, many hundreds of years hung out there, all trying to make a living, painting, entertaining. and we had a lunch in that village, and it's called Artist Square. Well, that square appeared in the movie as well as the stage production. So Mary and I are sitting there going, oh, we were there, we were there. That's where Mary Ann bought that watercolour painting that I showed you in the video. So these three sort of all get together, and the two boys from the area who meet this Christian say, hey, we've got to get ourselves in the door at Moulin Rouge because that would just make us. You're a good songwriter. I'm a producer. Really not sure what the Spanish guy, he might be more of a director. I don't know. The three of them get their heads together, and the two Parisian fellows say, hey, Christian, you are talented. You get in there and we'll get you a meeting with the lead lady, and hopefully that'll get the ringmaster on side. Satine will say, geez, these boys are good. Let's get their music up on our stage. And they will be made men then if they can just get into the Moulin Rouge with their work. So what pretty much happens is around the same time, the ringmaster says, tonight after the show, you're going to meet the Duke. And there's a bit of a mix-up. And, of course, she meets the Christian, the young fella from America, trying to get his songs into the establishment. She thinks it's the Duke. He thinks he's doing really well pitching his music, but we all realise that it's a bit of a misunderstanding. And in the few little brief meetings they have in her boudoir, they fall in love. Meanwhile, the Duke comes along. She twigs that she's actually romancing the wrong chap. She's thinking she's getting money for the boss to keep the theatre going. And then she meets this Duke, and she's like, oh, wrong person. Meanwhile, she's fallen for young Christian. She's now in love. Numerous love songs ensue. And she's also got this Duke that she's charming to get money, and he's so in love with her to the point of fatal attraction just about, and he agrees to fund the next show. So the story goes that they produce the show. The prince is there every day watching it being produced. Meanwhile, lurking around behind the scenes and behind racks of clothing is the two leads having a little smooch because they're in love. And, of course, all hell breaks loose right before the end of what do they call it, when they're practicing, getting it ready. It's the opening night, and the old Duke, he cottons on to that there's this love affair going on, and he thought that she loved him, but she doesn't. She loves this young fella from America. So he gets really angry and makes a choose. She chooses the Duke. But then at the final curtain hour, she changes her mind. But there's an underlying story that I won't tell you because it would spoil it. You have to go and watch the movie. And that's the tragicness of the love story. So, yeah, it was fantastic. But I will say, if you get a chance to see the stage production, because I believe it's all over the place now, you can see it in England and all sorts of places. In the movie, there's the whole gamut of songs, which are amazing. And I believe they won Academy Awards for the songs. The stage production, being that it's so many years later, they've brought in amongst those original songs from the movie, newer songs. And it was amazing. The clever people that can have a song going and then suddenly slip into another one, you know, when they do those medleys. Gee, it was good. And it was actually tricky to keep up with it because you'd be listening to a song and it might be something from Lady Gaga, and then it'd slip into a ballad from Adele, and then across to Rihanna, and then Britney Spears. Or it's like they got the music from the movie and freshened it up with more current music. And they're all love songs. Like these famous songs that all these artists even today are writing are still love songs, but they mushed them all together. And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I've been on iTunes to see if I can track down the new CD, I guess. See, back in the day we bought a CD. Now we don't. It's all on iTunes or Spotify. And I've found it. It's the stage production Moulin Rouge songs. So I'm just got to get a quiet moment where I can put my earbuds in. And if you're on iTunes, you can actually listen to each song before you make the purchase. So I think each song is like $2.19. That's Australian money. But if you love the whole album, you can get the album a lot cheaper. So I just want to put my earbuds in today, listen to all the songs again, and then potentially purchase maybe one or two of them. Or, you know, if they're all as good as I think they might be, maybe get the album and then add it to my Moulin Rouge collection of songs. So, yeah, that's your homework, guys. If you haven't seen the movie, oh, don't you knot up. Don't you not? Oh, I could feel this going when I twisted it together. Oh, come on, come on, come on. That's better. Yep, okay, we're away. So I've pretty much finished that flower, except for the really pale colours. And in my Yibba Yabba, which you know I'm famous for, I've ducked down onto the next flower. But that flower has another pink in there that's nearly a tone between the two that I've used so far. So I might have to go digging for something that will pop in there. Sort of a darker one again, but not as dark as the first one. Does that make sense? And then I need to find something quite pale and white. So there's nearly another 3 colours, to be honest. Don't have to do 3 colours, but it might look rather swish if I do. So that was my Moulin Rouge story. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Marianne, let me say, she really enjoyed it. The girl was tapping her toes and clapping and woohoo-hooing and she really was in a good mood and she was totally enthralled with it. You know, there's always someone in the group that just is absorbed into it. She'll be like, oh, good on you. It was rather cute, actually. There's a section that's, you know, a tear may come to your eye. And I glanced across and Marianne, she was hook, line and sinker. And I even glanced across, you know, your peripheral vision, you just watch someone to see if they wipe a tear. And Kevy wiped a tear. He will deny it, I'm sure. But I'm positive. I looked across to Gaz. No, nothing. Myself, nothing. I was just so busy looking at how they were sliding in the different sections of the stage, and then there was lights coming on and the way they changed the bulbs to different colours, and suddenly it was blue, then it went to orange, and then I'm like, oh yes, that's right, this is a very sentimental moment in the storyline. And then I was like, oh, how is she going to perform this next bit? And I was like, oh, that could have been more dramatic. And then I glance across to Marianne and there's a tear in her eye, and I'm like, oh, did I miss something? So I completely, I guess, miss the emotion of the scene. I won't say too much more because I'm going to spoil the ending of the movie. But yeah, it was rather cute. And then, you know, at the end when you think the show's over and then they do another song. Well, before that last song, the lights dim and it goes to a standing ovation. I swear Marianne was the first one on her feet. It was so cute. She shot up out of the seat. She'll be like cursing me hearing this story if she's watching this video. She shot up out of the seat. She's screaming and yelling and jumping and, oh, it was so cute. I'm sitting there going, sit down, there's another song yet. This is not the end. And of course the lights come back on and they've completely changed the whole stage, and away they go again. And yeah, then it ended, and of course everyone was on their feet then. It was really cute. She thoroughly enjoyed it. She was jigging around everywhere. She didn't sit still the whole show. Mind you, my feet were dancing too. I was singing at the top of my voice for a few of the songs that I knew, especially the Adele songs. I'm a bit of a fan of Adele. Nothing like a good ballad. Bang out a good ballad. It's a bit of my type of music, especially when you can hear every word of the singer and you can listen to the story they're telling you. That's the music I like. I must admit, there were a couple songs that are like major hits, and I've sort of like, oh yeah, that's on the radio again and again, but they're so hard to make out the words that I've never really been drawn to them because I can't really hear the words clearly. And one of them is Chandelier by Rihanna. It just has never really caught my attention as a great song, but of course it's pretty popular on the radio. When it came out, it was constant. But she's got such a high voice in the song, and she sings it really fast that you've got no chance of even knowing what she's singing about. But they took a section of it in this medley, and it's the first time I've actually heard the words properly, and it suited the story beautifully. And I was like, wow, I actually need to get the lyrics of that song and have a bit of a read because it's a bit deeper than I thought. So, and then of course it flips straight into another song. I think it then went into an Adele song, which I do know the lyrics of, and it was perfect for the message they were trying to convey. So I'm just coming around now. So for those of you who listen to me while you're doing housework, you'll be needing to get yourself the Moulin Rouge music and pop that on and hang on for the ride. It's, you know, those songs that start off slow and then lead you to a crescendo and then back down a little bit, but still not as low as it was when it started. There's a lot of music that's like that. And if you want to get yourself going for the day, I think it's the Elephant March. It is crazy, the amount of instruments that Baz Luhrmann has squished into that song, and you've got to listen to it loud. Now, I'm not a loud music person, not at all. And usually when you want to listen to the words of a song, loud is not the way you go, because you want to hear each word spoken within the song. But Elephant Dance, I'm sure it's called Elephant March. The elephant reference is her boudoir that's on the top of the Moulin Rouge building is an elephant-shaped construction. So there's this set that they've built that looks like you've gone into the elephant, and that's where her boudoir is, where you can see the lights of Paris, the Eiffel Towers in the distance. There's a full moon, you know, the whole romantic. And of course, this young fella from America, this Christian, keeps slipping in and out of the window to her boudoir. And meanwhile, the prince comes and goes as well. So there's bound to meet, bound to be trouble. So that's the whole gist of the story anyway. Well, that's the second flower stitched. My thread's got a bit caught up here. Look at this. What a mess. Didn't realise. That's the challenge of stitching with a folded over thread, you know, too. You've got to really keep your wits about you that you're not loose. I'll have to check all that out and just make sure that it's nice and secure. I don't want to get caught and coming apart. Okay, so I might stitch in the cream next because I think that's going to help me decide what I do in the way of this extra pink. So let's get this guy open. So this has never been used. So you usually undo them like so. Then you do that. Okay, so they're all cut. So someone's snipped them. They may have come like that. So let's pull out one and just see. Yeah, so they've all been cut. Could have come like that, or whoever owned it has snipped them. So let's get 2 strands out. Put them together. I took some photos of the stage. You weren't allowed to film, of course, when the production was on. But before the music sort of got going and the performance started, everyone was taking a photo just of the stage. So I've got that to show you as well. Okay, let's sneak back up into this first petal and lay down this cream. The colour's really good. It matches this little. I might just sneak a stitch up there. Now, I don't think there'll be a video tomorrow of this. I think I'm pretty happy with the progress that I've got going on this. So I'm going to put it aside. Now I had started pre-recording another French themed project, which was the Japanese rice bag. So you will probably be watching that, I'm thinking. So being that it's Thursday for me and it'll be Saturday for you, and you'll be watching the French. Oh, why is this so hard to pull through? And what I'm doing is I'm wrecking my thread. The roughed up it gets, it just all comes adrift. It's probably too long. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop, guys, because the more I drag that thread through, the more I'm going to destroy it. So I'm going to end it off. And I'm just going to use one of those threads. So I put 2 together. I'm not going to do that. I don't need to. I know it means more needles to be threaded, but I really don't have a lot of cream. So I'm just going to do that one thread with 1 knot at the end. So I still have my double. And I'm not dragging that delicate wool through all these layers because it'll just go all furry. I know Sarah mentioned it in her video when she's doing her flower, that the more you drag these threads through, they get all fluffy on you. So this is the bounce of light on the petal, the reflective little bit that makes your petal look like it's 3-dimensional. That's heaps better. So I'm only pulling through probably 12 inches of thread. Much better. Okay, so that's that little bit done. Now I'm going to come down to here. I should probably end it off and start again, but I haven't. We're going to stitch in this little bit of that first petal. That's the petal that's over the top of the one underneath. Gosh, it's 45 minutes. Where does the time go? Isn't stitching glorious for wasting time? Using time? Hubby had to go and get his blood tests. You know, you have your checkup every year. And last time he was a bit funny afterwards. He felt a bit faint. He was okay, but he was certainly not real good on his legs. And he went by himself and, of course, then had to drive home. So we talked about it and I thought, look, I'll come with just in case you have a bit of a faint feeling. At least I can drive. So I thought, oh, I'll take my piece. So I was sitting in the car stitching. I just got myself all set up, you know, the needles and the threads, everything was on the dash of the car and I was ready to go. And I probably stitched about 4 stitches. Next minute he's back at the door. I was like, oh, what happened? And he said, oh, I was the only one in there. So he got straight in and I hardly got any stitching done. So back home we go. Pull it all out of the car, pack it all back up. So, yeah, would have been good if I'd had an hour of stitching. The car was warm. I was sitting in the sun. It was just beautiful. But nope, I reckon I was there for 6.5 minutes. You can barely get your thread on your needle in that time. So there is that petal stitched. Now, I've got a little bit of thread left. I'm going to jump over to here and do this one. Another technique that I've seen on some stitcheries lately is you can outline your flower with a running stitch and it just gives a whole different look to your little flower as well. You go around that petal with a running stitch. I thought that looked interesting and that was new for me. I think I've got one more stitch there. So other than a little bit of white up in there, that flower is nearly done. Let me just end this off. So let's have a look at the running stitch idea. I will need to probably find another pink, but I won't waste time with that for you guys. Plus I need to go digging to find something. But the running stitch idea, now my thoughts was use an embroidery floss, this one, my all-time favourite, and actually enhance them. Let's see what it looks like. If it doesn't look any good, we won't proceed, but I've got 4. I sort of want it to be substantial, but not overpowering. Does that make sense? Let's see what it looks like. So we pretty much outline the flower. Let's see. The colour matches in beautifully. It's staying right on the edge of all of that stitching. I'm just doing a little running stitch. I think it'll be the detail of, you know, when you paint a flower, if you can somehow outline it subtly, it really makes the eye realise that it's a flower. I do it a little with watercolours and I'll pick up a black pen at the end once everything's dry, and just do a bit of rough sketching around the flower petals, and it really helps lift it from the page. Oh, I like this. So this is something new. I think it's Adriana Zersha, her channel. I haven't seen a video of hers for a little while. I must go looking for her. I'm sure she's been posting, but I just haven't had it on my radar. She does a bit of this. She'll highlight it. Fleur Woods does it. There's a few out there. I've seen Anne from Anne Brooks. She does it. I've never really had a play with it, and I'm really like the effect. It's just adding another detail to that flower petal. Now I can scoot a stitch right down between those petals, so I can come right down to here. Yep, so it's pretty much sketched. Let me zoom in a little bit. Oops, I need fingers to get us in there. So see the outline? Now I'll do it again here. It'll be really handy here because we've got a petal that's laying over the top of another flower. So having that outline there is really going to help the eye, you know, see what we're trying to do. Ow. There we go. Whoops. I've unthreaded. Can you see it? I can see it. I don't know if you can see it. It'll really show up here where it's a bit lighter. But, yeah, really enjoying that. So, something new for me. Isn't YouTube amazing that you can lob into these artists' backyards and watch a new stitch and then go and try it yourself? Oh, it's just brilliant. I miss the stitch that connects to that. Now in the centre, I know I mentioned yesterday that I would put pearls in there. But when I was stitching up the top of this piece, see these little loopy bits? I'm thinking I might do that. So there you go. I've just come down to that flower petal, sorry. Now I'm going to head back out on this petal. I think this will really show it up because it's a cream edge coming into the white edge of the fabric. There we go. You see that? Oh, now. Gosh, you could spend hours on these Roxy pieces. Just losing yourself in a little spot. That's why I like that the prompts are 2 weeks apart. It just gives you time to play. And if you did want to do a couple variations of it, of the project, like different colour variations, you can, because it's not, you're not having that prompt bearing down on you every week. It's really good. See that? Now we're starting to see that outline really well on that flower. Doesn't that make a difference? And I'm just tucking it right in next to the stitches on the petal itself. Really pretty. Takes time, takes time. Oh, gosh. There we go. Now, got to be a bit careful because I haven't put the cream in up here, so I might just pull my thread through and let it lay. Grab another cotton of that cream, stitch in that little bit in there, then I can pick up that red and carry on. So what have you all got planned for today? It's Saturday, so what have you got planned? Anything exciting? I'm trying to coordinate myself to get into a class at Kiwana Waters, around that area on the Sunshine Coast, that Jenny Colston runs. You remember the book, Foolproof Flowers? And she's a local lady to southeast Queensland, and there's a shop up there that hosts her with classes. And now that the whole Paris thing is settled down and I'm back in the routine of life, I'm just looking at their schedule to see when I can get up there and do a class. It's about an hour and a half drive. So I'm hoping to book a seat. Love to have a session with Jenny. I know on a Wednesday the shop does a 2 of her classes in a row, and it'd be a break for lunch. So I'm thinking I'm going to book in for a Wednesday. That way I can drive up for the day, do 2 classes, and it's free form too. You just come along with whatever you're working on, or in my case, I'm just going to take a blank piece of fabric. I'm going to take a needle, and I'm going to take a little pair of scissors. That's it. And I'm just going to go with whatever's going. She has certain threads that she prefers. Well, I'll just grab a couple from the shop, and then see what comes of it. So that's my project for today. I'm going to look into that. I've been banging on about it for months. I don't think I'm going to get there till July, mind you. June is pretty much, well, May's a write-off, isn't it? May's done. June, I'm going to Melbourne to do a course with Lisa Mattock for 4 days. So I'm thinking it's going to be July. So I'm just now, I stitched in that little bit. Now I can sneak around the perimeter of that little petal. There's a lot of work goes into these painted flowers. My thread's getting small. I keep pulling it out. I really like this outline business. I might need to go to that one further down and outline it. It's got different colours of threads, so completely different look, but same flower. How are we going for time? Oh gosh, there's the hour. I'll just do this last stitch and I'll let you go because I've got to go around that petal too yet. I'll just use the thread I got left on my needle. Then I can knot it off. I'll get one more stitch, I think. How good is that? Doesn't that make a difference? There you go, guys. There's something I've learnt new. Thank you to all the textile creators out there of YouTube videos in YouTube world. Spot these little new things. You're like, ooh. All right, let's bring that up to the camera. Look at that. Let's get clear. Doesn't that make a difference? So I've still got to finish this little guy. But that flower, where's the ones we did earlier? Down here. Where are you? See that one there? That's not outlined. So, yeah. And you see the leaves there? So they're different again to what I did up here with this one. Different colours, same piece of fabric, just different ways of stitching. Yeah, I really like that. So I'll definitely continue with that little idea. All right, everyone, I will leave you alone. Have a great weekend. I think tomorrow will be the French fabric coming back. And, yeah, having a play with some of those treasures and at least making one of the sides to that Japanese rice bag. You know, I can pick it up at any time and just do a panel, which is the great thing about those bags. I could even do a Jennifer bag, a Jenny bag, couldn't I? Whatever I do, stitching with her, pop it onto a bag dedicated just to her and her classes. That'd be fun. Yeah, there's an idea. All right, guys, I will leave you alone and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.